important to maintain a silage pit for various reasons. It's a once-in-a-lifetime generation in terms of building the structure, and it's a financial burden and cost to the farmer at the time. So you want to maintain the lifespan of this structure for as long as possible, and by undertaking routine inspections and annual maintenance, you'll be able to maintain the structure in an impermeable state. And by doing so, that therefore means that you'll be protecting the environment, because you'll be collecting the effluent and it won't be seeping away and causing water pollution. Silage effluent is one of the most highly polluting organic liquids you can actually find. It's significantly more polluting than raw sewage. It strips the oxygen out of the watercourse and results in fish kills and invertebrate deaths. In terms of carrying out a routine inspection of your silage pit, probably the best time to do that is in between first cut and when you stop feeding silage or the cows go out. In some instances the cows won't go out, but basically when the pit's empty, it's probably one of the best times to start looking at a structure and to look for potential problems that may arise. One of the first things you should do is that you should actually power hose your silage pit out to get rid of all the old silage and any mould that may be there. It gives you a good indication of what the concrete and the joints are actually like. The first thing we look at when we go out onto a farm and looking at the silage pits is the condition of the silage pit floor slab in the first third of the structure. If it's concrete, you will usually see signs of wear and tear in that front third, and that's a result of the acidic nature of the silage effluent and the continual movement of vehicles over that particular area. So one of the things we look for is to give an indication of what the aggregate looks like. If the aggregate's showing and you can see where the effluent has actually corroded a lot of the surface concrete away, then we'd be looking to put some kind of sealant onto that or resin onto that just to maintain that structure. If the aggregate is actually particularly loose and coming away, and you could actually lift some of that aggregate when you're lifting your silage, we would always recommend to the farmer that is probably the time to consider overlaying with hot rolled asphalt. A very thin layer of hot rolled asphalt on the floor seals that floor and makes it totally impermeable again. Another area we'd look at front of the silage pit is the effluent collection channel, and that is pretty important to make sure that there's no cracks or defects in that particular channel. If there is small cracks, they may be hairline cracks. You might be able to get away with using some kind of resin on it or even bitumen. But if there's larger cracks, you'd probably have to fill that with something first of all before painting or covering with a bitumen coat. In terms of joints and seams, look at the condition of your sealant in there. If the sealant is removed from certain parts of it or is coming off the ground, then the best thing to do would be to clean that out and to reseal. And those joints you could reseal with hot bitumen, or you can use a polyurethane or a polysulfide type sealant. The other area, as I say, is the walls, and if you have a concrete panel structure, you really need to be looking at the joins between the walls to see if the sealant's there, to see the condition of the sealant. If the sealant's in poor condition, we'd always recommend either removing that sealant, similar to what you do on the floor, and using a kind of a gun and putting a sealant in there. That sealant would need to be acid resistant, so again you're looking at polysulfide or something along the lines of a polyurethane type material. The other areas what we look at is that floor wall join to give an indication just of the nature of the concrete and the integrity of the concrete. And in some structures you will see that it can be worn away just by the effluent and the acidic nature of that effluent. In these particular instances, to prevent any further deterioration of the wall and to maintain the durability of that wall, we would always recommend painting it with a product or resin, and it's usually a black type material you'll see in structures, just to prevent that acid coming into contact with the concrete in future and preventing any further corrosion. And sometimes you can see that on your steel panels. They become very, very rusted, and that floor wall joint, that is one of the key areas where silage effluent can escape. It doesn't take a lot for it to escape. It's horrendous material, and it does cause significant problems. In relation to earth bank pits with a hot rolled asphalt floor, there really is minimal maintenance that's actually required. Asphalt floors are very easily repaired. If by chance you happen to hit it with one of your forks, then all you do is you just are able to cut that section out and replace it, and it's totally impermeable. The key thing about earth bank pits and hot rolled asphalt floors is to make sure that when you're lining the side of the structure, putting that polythene down the side of the structure. You carry it down onto the floor for about 2 to 3 feet, and you put a flexi-coil pipe on top of that just to help release the effluent out of the system as quickly as possible. If I was to go onto a farm that had an open silage pit, probably of the same age, then the condition of the floor would be an awful lot worse than what we actually see here today. There'd be an awful lot more probably cracking, aggregate loss, and it would be probably, with a concrete floor anyway, we'd probably be looking for an overlay of hot rolled asphalt if there'd been minimal maintenance and annual inspection carried out on it. But yeah, having the roof over it may be a wee bit more expensive at the start, but the benefits are there in the long run in terms of the structure integrity and the condition of the floor and walls. Should you need any further advice, you can either contact the Farm Advisory Service or go to Farming and Water Scotland website for information on silage pits and other structures, or if you need, contact SEPA.